Oh man, nice
Bam.
move. I didn't know you could do that. Great. Now we're set. Carry
Okay,
on. Sorry
cool.
to interrupt.
Thank you. It could possibly be like maybe I was supposed to, there's Dojo. Maybe I was supposed to log in from the dojo Zoom.
No,
No.
I'm telling you, you did everything right. It's just we're just Melanie and I are just we're smoothing this out, and it should be automatic, but it will be next time. This is just little tiny bumps. You're doing great, yeah.
Okay.
Because we don't want it where anyone has to even try and remember what like how to record. There's a way in Zoom where it automatically does it. So we'll get it. But now we're recording, so carry on.
Sweet deal. Thank you. And I
Yeah.
feel like it just maybe took a while to get going because I saw the little blue things pop up. So maybe it just took a while. I don't know. I'm brand new to all of this. I don't have internet in my house. I don't have this is a laptop I'm using that was actually gifted to my son, and I don't have cable. Like I just don't do all these things, you know? But I just had that feeling of being almost too disconnected. Like I am too in my little bubble. So I'm doing it. But so that's really just what I had to say about my week. It's just been absolutely phenomenal trying to take things from that different approach. And so the other things that I wanted to talk about today is scheduling a show and tell for the kids, if we all want to do that, or whatever the kids want to do. You know what I mean? Because if I told my son that we were going to do a show and tell for his rock collection, like that's not going to be what his mode is for the day, you know? So also I would really like to have some some guest speaker type things, like a guest speaker Q&A, like getting, you know, old wise woman who raised 3 kids and she's in, you know, her kids are in college or doing whatever they're doing, and she has been doing Unschooled, and like I'd love to have somebody like that to bring in to ask questions and get their knowledge. And I would really like to bring a speaker in who does Unschooled portfolio review, like a registered teacher with the state who has experience with unschooled families, and just talking about what their portfolio looks like and things like that. And I also would like to, I haven't talked to my mother about this, but I would like to invite my mother to be a speaker, because my mother has a, she has been working with children her entire life. And I've always said she has this patience of a saint. And she was a substitute teacher. She's just done so much in the school system, in the brick and mortar system. And she has worked through almost every aspect of it. She's been a classroom teacher, and she's been a special ed teacher where she had more freedom to teach the kids. And she's also, she started her teaching journey before the core curriculum. And she has watched that whole change from states being, you know, having their own thing to this core standard. And I really feel like her perspective would be something good to offer the, you know, we hear from unschoolers, and then we can also hear from teachers who've been in that school system as well. And so that's what I wanted to bring. And then I have 2 books that I want to show and get your opinion. But I'm going to stop talking for a moment. And Josh, you have your hand up, so go ahead.
Hey, yeah, thanks. And sorry, I was a couple minutes behind here, getting on time. I was just jotting down and wanted to chime in when you mentioned maybe bringing in some guest speakers. I'm part of I guess I called like a mutual assistance group or something like that here in St. Louis. So probably 8 or 9 of us or something like that. And one of the other fellows who's part of this group, his wife has homeschooled 3 of their kids. They're all grown and, in their 30s or whatever plus now. But she's homeschooled 3 children. So I could ask and see if maybe she might want to come and talk to a group of, people that are homeschooling their kids and maybe kind of chat a little bit if you're looking for like a guest speaker or somebody to have like a sounding board with. Like, I think she'd be a great person. I don't know if she would accept, but she probably would. Part of this mutual assistance group is we're here to help each other. She's been active in our meetings and stuff like that. We've been over to her house, and very sweet lady. So I'd be happy to ask her and see if maybe she wouldn't want to maybe join us for something, of that nature.
Heck yes, absolutely. That would be awesome. I really was just planning on kind of reaching out to like Facebook groups to find other people who are willing to do that. So yes, absolutely. Let us know how she feels about that, and I will see what my mother feels about speaking as well, which I think she'll be cool with. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Oh, I don't know who went first with the hand, Lynette or James. Go for it.
Usually it shows whoever's at the top of the list, Anna, is typically who raised their hand in the next order, just so you know. And I just wanted to even make a suggestion about what Josh is saying, is to even consider that every waxing, every full moon, Dojo Earth is kind of like showcasing what's happening. And the idea of maybe having these speakers, you could think of it like a workshop, a full moon homeschool workshop. I was saying that because I think that I could bring in some effort and calories to help you guys do that. You could picture someone like Melanie maybe kind of helping the speakers set up and get an itinerary. We could stream it or whatever and kind of divide it into different things. So if you guys are interested in that, I would love to throw some weight behind that and get that going too. So yeah, great.
And maybe on that note too, maybe also just gathering some sense of like what would be helpful, right? Or maybe we kind of like pull some questions or things that people are curious about or whatever, so I can reach out to her and say like, hey, here's some things that people are struggling with, or maybe some areas that you can guide your conversation. Because just knowing her personality, she'd probably be like, what do they want me to talk about? And be like, everything. Like, what does that mean? So maybe even just like funneling that a little bit and being like, hey, here's some things that people are curious about. How did you go about this? What was your experience with that? That type of thing. I think having just a few of those would help me initiate that conversation with her. So whether we do it through the Facebook group and the Dojo Earth Homeschool, just to kind of get some like, hey, we were looking for some guest speakers. Like, what are some things that people are struggling with that we can reach out to these speakers and try and draw on their experience? Like that might be a good way to frame it.
I wonder if maybe because it's the first one, and sorry to jump in here, Lynette, I wonder if maybe the first one could be more about an introduction to unschooling, deschooling, homeschooling. It's more of a general workshop just about all the different techniques, all the different approaches. That if that was the first one, that would give you exactly what you're talking about, Josh, because people would love that, right? Here's the quest, right? You're giving them the quest by giving them the theme of that workshop. So that might be freaking perfect. So yeah, I like the idea of aiming it like that.
Go ahead, Lynette.
So I was thinking, with my art school thing that I'm running here in this town, we're really starting to connect a lot with the Lakota tribe and the natives. And that's something that I'd like to bring to the homeschool group, is more the elders and that approach to knowledge. So perhaps when I bring in speakers for downstairs, or even just the connections I'm making with people. If that's something that interests everyone, I'd like to bring them in and share that ancient, knowledge with us, and how we can pass that on to our little ones. That's kind of all I got.
This is also golden.
Yeah, that fits perfectly with that theme, right, of approach. The approach is elders. The approach is tapping into the human library that's right in front of you. Awesome. It's so
I love
perfect.
It. So I really didn't know where I was even going to go with that. And I was just saying we should get speakers. And I feel like, Josh, you have somebody who has been the homeschooler for so long, and Lynette, you're making these connections with the elders. And I think that is perfect. That's really all I have to add to that. And
I wonder if we could get Lynette to ask that lady Lynette, because Lynette knows a ton. Like, she could do a presentation which would just blow people away. It's just any kind of people seeing the confidence that's coming from you guys as you're doing your own thing, I think is going to do the most sparking right now. So yeah, I anything I can do to help that, let me know.
I
think like with me, with the approach, it's so hard to when you hear speakers and things, it's really hard for me personally. Like, I don't gain, it doesn't sound right to say I don't gain much, because I do, but it's really such a personal journey, the homeschooling thing. And there's so much, and there's so many different pedagogies and different ways of learning and approaches. I think it'd help if we kind of narrow it down to a little bit, where are we all kind of maybe as a collective gravitating towards, and then focus our speakers on that area, because otherwise we're kind of, it's hard to, there's just so much, it's such a big arena, there's so much information out there. And I think if we kind of narrow it down a little bit on all of us and where we're headed, it might, I don't know, could possibly help.
I definitely appreciate that. And I also wonder if someone might even find it so helpful to even have that introductory landscape view, just like what you're talking about. I just think I don't think most people even know that there's so much richness here to all the different avenues. So even being exposed to that in a broad general way would be something that I think people would find valuable. I totally get what you're saying though, about how the model is what you meant about it doesn't really benefit me. I totally get what you're saying. And I think that people would love to hear you say that. I'm not trying to pressure you, Lynette, because you already do so much. I'm just saying that this perspective, even where you even thinking by saying, look, it's even too broad to even say it like that, is so vital to understand where this goes. So all of it's good is what I'm trying to say.
And I think from, knowing Mike and his wife, where she'll be coming from, if she wants to do this at all, but where she would be coming from, my guess would be more of the traditional learning, right? Just sort of how to how they've dealt with homeschooling, what topics they needed to incorporate to make par with whatever the school board wanted them to do and all that stuff. I think she'll be much more traditional in how she approaches things. From where she might be coming from. So she'll probably give one aspect of it, which is fine. I don't know how much she'll get into the other aspect of it, which is, all good, right? Well, I think to James's point a little bit, it's nice to have a little bit of a palette of different types of exposures, because what I might gather, I might resonate a little bit with what she's saying, but then I might resonate a little bit more with what your speaker's saying, right? And like you said, for homeschooling, and gosh, my kids go to daycare, so I feel like I'm a liar here. I want to do more for them, right? And I try and do as much as I can at home, but I'll grab different things that I can apply, for my kids, and that's going to be different for what somebody else is going to gather from that conversation. So I like this idea of multiple different types of speakers that have different things to offer, that not everyone's going to resonate 100% with everything that's on the board anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the word speaker could even be a really broad term here, right? It really could just be a gathering, a circle of friends that are discussing a topic, and the topic for the next hour and a half is blah blah blah, right? And then wherever it goes, it goes. That really could be all it takes. So
Yeah, and maybe I won't even position it to her as like, hey, we want you to be a guest speaker or something, because that's like a little bit like, oh, like what? Do I need to prepare something? But maybe more so just in the vein of like, hey, like, we're part of this mutual assistance group. Well, I'm part of this other group as well that we're helping each other with homeschooling, and we really value your input. Love you to join us and be part of just sort of a discussion that we're having. You've homeschooled 3 kids. I think there's a lot of value that you could bring to other people. I think I'll position it more like that. And then, she'll know that we're going to like want to talk to her about it. So she won't be like, oh, why are these people asking me questions? But it won't also be like, hey, you need to talk for an hour about like what we should be doing for homeschooling. So I think that'll be less daunting too. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely more of like a round table than a you know what I'm trying to say. Can't think
like
of
PowerPoint or whatever, dude.
the homeschoolers of the round table is met during the next full moon, right? Yeah, it'd be great. I already see it.
Hey, quick question, if I could, since I've got James here as well. For Monday, with the stuff that I want to bring to the table, which is very much part of like the schooling aspect, not so much the homeschool, because you don't have to put a mask on your kid at home. But is that something that we want to promote to this group of people that are doing homeschooling as well, or not? And that's okay. And then also kind of the second part of the question is, how do I, like, just like you guys had a Zoom link here, how the hell do I do that to get the Zoom link set up to have that pushed out? I failed at trying to create a meeting.
Gotcha.
Melanie
I'm happy to walk you through that, but that's actually Melanie is like, that's her new key role now, is kind of giving that, but I'm more than happy to do that too. So either one of us would be reach outs for that.
Good. I think Mel can help me. I actually was emailing with her a little bit about something else, so I think I'll just tap her on
great.
that one.
Great.
Yeah.
But I'm here too. Yeah. And it'll be a little bit bumpy setting up. So yeah, thanks for bearing with us.
Yep. All good.
I just wanted to say she's so awesome for doing all that. She's absolutely awesome. That's all I want to say. Go ahead, Lynette.
Josh, what you're working with, does that have to do with the masks in the schools? And
yeah, so this is something that Althea or Erica brought to the table, which is that she had utilized a group called Stand for Thee in Canada, that they have a lot of like templated stuff or whatever that people can do to push back on their school district if their schools are saying, hey, your kid's got to wear a mask, otherwise like they can't be in school. And she went through an interesting process, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what that process looks like, even though I haven't done it, but I'm very aware of what is going on there. I'm actually in the process of doing some stuff with my own affidavits here, unrelated to kids and masks in school. My kids don't wear a mask at school, but other things that it's applicable to. So it's sort of a dual faceted meeting, right? On one hand, we're going to be specifically talking about masks in schools and how to push back. On the other hand, these are also tactics that you can use and apply to not wearing a mask at Costco or whatever it might be, right? So it's actually the same methodology to how to push back. So it's a specific yet broad topic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I'm definitely interested in the aspect of, when we go into different stories and things like that. I know as far as the school aspect goes, it doesn't, it's not where I am with my journey, but and even for me, it's a hard thing to wrap my head around the pushback with the schools, because I'm so anti what happens in the establishment as a whole. Like the mask is like nothing, as opposed to like how we forfeit our rights as parents once we enter them into that system. So for me, it's like that struggle of like, well, why are we fighting for the mask thing, when to me, the mask is not the issue. It's the indoctrination and the bullshit that they pump into our children's brains that's happening. So for me, I know I appreciate what Athea is doing and I respect what you guys are doing, but I don't quite understand the mindset there, because I think the problem is bigger than the mask. That's just my where I am with that. So
Can I just say, like, 1,000,000% agree with you? You know, that's my biggest struggle, is like the alignment in my household with where I'm at and where my wife's at. And yeah, you know, not being able to really say, like, we're not sending our kids to school. That's my biggest challenge, you know. And so I think what I'm focused on is, how can I make sure that I don't I help my children be strong enough to, you know, not get indoctrinated despite being in the system, you know. And yeah, I do a lot with that, to just talk to them about stuff, even though they're 2 and they're 4, or my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old. But yeah, I don't know how to win that battle yet.
I think you're looking at a broad, vast jungle in a beautiful way. And Lynette, you were in many ways where Josh is in the dojo. I'm talking about personal electricity and progress. You're more of an apex energy being. I'm just being just real straight up. And that things that make no sense to you only would make sense to you if you were operating on lower electricity. And in that lower isn't even like a degraded, like, that's kick ass, you know, they're going 6 knots, you know, there's nothing wrong with 6 knots, right? But when you're going 12 knots, it definitely, you're like, why the fuck are you guys doing that? This is seriously, you're high as hell. And I just want you to know that it's more of you having to give here, but your presence in the harbor it's doing so much for the spines of these other boats, for their chiropractic. They're seeing, oh my God, I could be doing, you can do 11 knots. It's a whole thing. And that actually does feed you. I take that back. That actually will feed you, because you will start to notice my mask can go a lot higher than this. It can do it. So I just want you to keep that in mind. This is the aquarium model, right? This is how it works. It's going to be a circle. And some of us are going to be a whole lot more into this or have better electricity at this skill, but we're going to raise each other up just by coming together. So I like the disagreements. I like the challenges. I love that I don't even know what to call it. And I'm so ignorant about this, Lynette, that I'm seriously, like, nervous to say deschool, unschool, like, in a good way. Cause it's like, I realize, wow, I didn't even realize it was this deep. And that's good, Rich. That's if the workshop only did that, fuck, that would be amazing. Like, that would be that go-to beginning welcome center. Switching analogies now, but that would be the welcome center where these people would stop in and get their brochures and see what this is all about. So.
Wow. So I feel like the option to get the information for what Althea and you guys are doing would be a good addition to the homeschool group. Like, I feel like having it in the homeschool library, or just having an avenue, so that if there are people who wanted to access that, it would be like an avenue from the homeschool group. And so what else I'm thinking with what you said, Lynette, about the, you know, the problem isn't the mask, it's the indoctrination. I think that would be a really important thing for us to incorporate into the roundtable talks, or however. Like, I see the introduction workshop being where we funnel our focus and show everybody what our intent is. I feel like we need that strong intent. And as people come in, they need to feel that intent of what we're trying to do. And then that's what I see. I see setting our intent, and then I see us coming together and watching that manifest through the roundtable talks. So that's kind of what I see. And I do feel like it's a benefit to see every side of it. I always do. I want to see their side, their side, their side, and then this guy's side, and then think what I think, And so having somebody like my mother or your friend Josh, I think that's beneficial, because you never know what you're going to learn from somebody else. But then also, I think that when we have that intent to begin with, the information would come in differently, and going over just how the whole education of our children has morphed into socializing instead of educating, and that whole indoctrination. I think it's very important. I feel like we should really visit that. I feel like we should definitely visit that in our roundtables, and that's what I see brewing in our pot.
I just want to add real quick that I want all of you to realize that you already have what I would like to see you bring to the workshop. That I don't think that you have to go burn any more calories or do any more stuff. I would love the idea that you might take the time maybe to sharpen your own tools, and come bring them if you want. But I just want to convey that y'all you're already doing your work, right? You're educating yourself and your families and everything else. And think of this workshop as even the word work is wrong. It's more of a powwow. It's more of just a coming together. I think if we set it like that, schools don't celebrate, hey, we're just going to come together and freaking hang out as parents. It doesn't happen that way, right? It's always because, well, we're going to figure out what we're going to make them wear or whatever it is. It's so just keeping this really nice and light, I think even is more homeschool. Like it has that same vibe more to it anyway, which promotes so much more of that growth. In fact, this might sound like something out of left field, but I just don't want to lose it. The idea that you could take an envelope and ask your kid, what's your favorite thing right now? What are you thinking of? And to write that down on a sheet of paper, and to do that like 20 times, and have that envelope like hanging on the wall and with a giant question mark, is like that simple ritual is setting up this idea of you're looking forward to mystery, that learning is fun, and that not only is it fun, you get to put in that bag what it is you want to learn about. And so it's only going to be full of the best things that you ever thought of. Like there's no way that you could even do this in school, because you're going to have 30 kids up against one teacher. So the method won't even apply. You can't even discuss it because it doesn't have the mechanics involved. That same mechanic is what we're talking about now. This idea that none of us have to prepare, none of us have to go pretend while no one's looking to learn how to regurgitate something, to then bring it back here and say that. We're simply wanting your experiences, and we want them placed out in the raw, open, authentic fire so everyone can look at them and try them on. It's a totally different approach. So I just want us to keep that light spirit to it, because I don't want anyone to feel weighed down by this. This really shouldn't. It should do the opposite. If it feels that way to anybody, like your friend Josh, right? Or even to Lynette or any of us, it really doesn't have to feel that way. In fact, that's the old way, isn't it? This is something different. This is more of a gathering, it's a gathering of light. So that's all I got.
Yeah, I wanted to say, like, I like to look at myself with my children as a gardener, right? Like that's my role in their life. I'm the gardener. I may plant the seeds, but I just really like sit back and let it grow naturally. Like, so with my approach to how I do things, I've kind of shared with you guys before, is there's so much observation that takes place in my household. So I'm constantly watching my children and seeing where they're naturally gravitating towards and what their interests are. And I don't necessarily pump that information from them by asking them. It's more my job to observe. And I see like, okay, so today my kid is really into insects and he's really observing them. So in the morning, he'll wake up and on his table, I'll have set out a ton of books about insects and maybe one particular that he was really interested in. And I kind of, that's how we learn, is I really just try to approach it very organically and through observation. And then maybe he'll only spend like 3 minutes on it. Maybe I missed the boat. Maybe that was yesterday's thing and he's not interested. And so we'll move on to the next thing, but it's constantly evolving with his interests. And some days, like for now, it's been 6 or 7 months that it's still pirates. And so we're still going down that path together. And I think there's really just so much beauty to that, and approaching it as a gardener, you know, just plant those seeds and just let it take flight and let it grow into what it's going to become, and sit back and enjoy the riches, you know.
I love that so much. That was such an awesome analogy. And I have gained so much from doing this with all of you. And Lynette, I feel like you have such a very calm and a stoic presence. Yeah, you're very stoic. That's the best word I feel like I can think. So I am most definitely gaining much more than I could put into it. And I really love, James, you turning around the language. Workshop, powwow. I feel like it's so powerful. And I have never been good with like formulating words. It's just not, I'm not good at it. It just rambles on out and half the time doesn't really make much sense. So I really love you kind of bringing it back to that. You guys are helping it bring back to that organic place, you know? So I think that's all I have. Does anybody else have anything that
I thought I wanted to share in terms of names and just kind of the language of things. I have been drawn to the label of natural philosophy. I feel like it's a pretty untainted expression. I'm not saying like, this is just like general feedback, but there's also so I'm a big fan of Terrence McKenna, and his brother Dennis has been working to create the McKenna Academy of Natural Philosophy. And they're doing, maybe they're like 2 years in, but it's very much a similar vibe, maybe a little more boxed in to paradigms. But yeah, I guess I just wanted to share that. I mean, I like the unschooling. It's like there's a lot of ways that we can point to this natural process that our biology will express in relation to the feedback of our environment, and we're just nurturing that relationship. And so, yeah, I think it's like, you know, we can call it, there's lots of different ways we could put that into words. Like I've kind of liked the notion of like the elements, or breaking things down, like an elements academy, and it's probably already taken, but just speaking to that there are fundamental patterns and forces that arise into this, you know, reality that we're existing in, and we can understand that and have a relationship to that. Yeah.
It does. It ties into really everything that we're doing. Just trying to listen to that natural process of things and letting it happen through us, or maybe I'm not even thinking about that right, but that's what it says to me, is that really just listening to that natural process and allowing it to happen. And I wrote that down. So I really appreciate all of that, because those are, I feel like those are, I am learning so many about so many new people and resources, you know? So I really enjoy that. And that might be somebody that we could get a hold of, and maybe they'll come have a powwow with us, you know, in the future. What do you guys think? I don't really have much more for today.
I was just going to say, I think I've got a little bit of homework to, have a conversation with a friend of mine, and would the powwow, would that be at the next full moon? So kind of like lead up to say like, hey, we're going to do this in a couple weeks, that type thing. Is that what we're
Yeah, I
leaning toward?
think that, yeah, if you guys are down with that, it'd be great. And so really all I'd be really kind of pulling from you would be your witness for, let's say, an hour and a half, that basically the meeting that we would normally have that Friday, we just kind of, gussy up the place, make the place look a little nice, sweep up around here, and, just let people come in and just talk about it, And so, yeah, that way we wouldn't necessarily even lose any time. And but yeah, so that'll be well, we're still waning right now, so you got about 20, I don't know, it's coming up, but that's what I love, is it makes me look at this. I'm always, okay, so when's the moon, where are we at? So it's great. It's a whole other way of thinking. It's a really good exercise, so let's just do it that way. So maybe just like last time, whatever our time will be, well, if it's 12:30 on Friday, great. Then I'm just going to incorporate that in with the powwow, that from 12:30 we're meeting in the homeschool tent, right? And we're going to, you just come by. And then at 2 o'clock or 3, we'll do this and that. And, we'll just see what hopefully organically develops naturally from the different groups. So, and Josh, your group, that's freaking boss, man. I really want to apply that too with my town. I know I mentioned that briefly to you, but it's seriously, that's some powerful hammers there. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, there's no reason to stay. I mean, if we're done, we're done. We can break out of this huddle and get back out there.
See you guys. Yeah, awesome. Good stuff. Glad I was able to tune in. See you guys.
Thank you all for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anna. Thanks for being such a great host. See you guys soon.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good
Bye.
weekend.